willow. These are woolly dolls. Look at them, all different colours. Travelling women always had spare wool. They always had plenty of wool lying around. We're always crocheting, you know, and weaving and knitting. Their tents would be full up, or their trailers would be full up of crocheted and knitted stuff. They did lace as well, so the hands, you know, they've always been very, very skilled hands. And these wee dolls, you know, travelling women couldn't go away to toy shops and buy big fancy toys for their bairns, but they always had plenty of playthings flying around. And these wee woolly dolls were used for all kinds of things. You know, you get wee travelling bairns with just one in their hand. It made them feel like they had a little friend, you know, just a wee toy. And sometimes you could cut your teeth on them as well. You know, they're hardy. Wool is very, very hardy. And there was always plenty lying around my home when I was a wee lassie. My mother taught me how to make them. I've seen lots of my aunts and that. I'm sure my granny used to make them as well. They're quite common. They were everywhere. You get them under a cushion, under a pulley, you know, just lying around. Sometimes my father had one or two in his toolbox, and I used to think that he kept it there for good luck. I don't know why I thought that. He never said. But they were commonplace. And sometimes, you know, when you get your wool, you start to make your wee dolly. You're on your own, you're just sitting there, the bairns are playing about, they're either playing under bushes or foraging for something, wherever you're camped up. But sometimes the kids would gather around your feet and they would look at you. It was almost as instinctively saying, tell us a story, Mammy, tell us a wee story. Because the familiarity of the wee woolly doll kind of settled kids down. It used to make them feel better. And sometimes when kids would come home from schools, because travelling bairns went to school wherever they were, usually in the winter time. And you know, it wasn't easy for travelling bairns to go anywhere, and they didn't get bullied, because when you're different, kids are very cruel like that. When you're different, you're a target for bullies. So when Granny has or Mother had the wee woolly doll going on their hands, it's just a time to relax and just listen. Once upon a time, there was a king, a grand king, beautiful clothes. He was always visiting other kings, no matter where in the world he went. And he had a wonderful friend, his best friend actually. It was his tailor. Tailor had a wardrobe full of the finest clothes for him. Oh, there was many. And one day, he said to his wife, I've got to go far away, he says, to the other ends of the earth. It's going to take me months on end, he says, but I've got to meet up with other kings and we've got to decide the running of the kingdoms, which is best for the people that live in it. And I want to impress these other kings from the Orient. And they wear clothes of gold threads and silks, and I would like to impress them. I'll get my friend the tailor to make me a garment of gold threads and silks. And the Queen looked at him, she said, Husband, you have a wardrobe down there and it's packed to the neck of beautiful clothes. You don't need any more clothes. Take what you've got. Anyway, have you had a look at the fingers of your friend the tailor recently? His knuckles are all buckled and he leans over when he walks. Surely that tells you he's getting just a wee bit too old to be hanging over a big table, cutting material and making a garment for you. I'm only saying, husband, but I think you should think about maybe asking him to retire. And the king thought, you know, his wife made a lot of sense and she was a good, strong woman, and he says, you're right enough. He said, I've taken him for granted for far too long. So he went down into the cutting room and he says to his friend the tailor, he said, you know, old man, he says, I think you should retire. And I'm going to get my men to go, you know that lovely bit where you like to fish, he says, when you're on holiday, by the sea. I'm going to make a wee house. I'm going to have them make a wee house for you and fill it with all that you need. And you can spend as long as you like. Take the best horse in the kingdom, he says, and come and visit me whenever you can. Huh? Can I come and visit you whenever you can? You're never here, your majesty. Ah, he says, well, the horse will be yours, he says, and anything you want, just come to the kingdom and replace it. Now that's the order, you're going to retire. He wasn't wanting to retire. He liked what he'd done. He liked his friends. He liked the company. He was a man of the castle. But orders are orders. And the king says to him, on the day that he was going to go, he said, now I want you to go into the cloth room and I want you to choose the very best material that's in there, and I want you to make yourself a coat. Now that's my gift to you. Well, he went down into the cloth room and he chose this lovely strong wool, red wool with bits of tartan, bits of green, bits of orange, bits of blue in it, and he liked it very much. So he thanked the king and the queen and he said his farewells to everybody, and off he set. And he settled a while in that lovely cottage by the sea, and he did everything that his retirement demanded of him. Fish, lie about to the middle of the day, don't do anything. And meanwhile, he made himself this beautiful coat. Oh, what a beautiful coat it was. In many ways, it was a gift from his friend the king, was his best friend, known all their lives together. And also, it was so nice, he just had to keep wearing it. And he wore it, and he wore it, and he wore it, and he wore it, till it was all worn out. Ah, said he, look at the state of my coat. It's all frayed along the bottom. The cuffs are all frayed. Oh, he said, this is my coat that I wear and think about my friend, the king. I wonder how he is, I wonder what he's doing, I wonder where in the world he is, if he's safe. Oh well. But he was a tailor, and he took his scissors and he cut the frayed bits off, and he cut the bottom off, and when he was finished stitching it up and making it up and to look a bit respectable, it's nice. He'd got himself a wee jacket. A jacket that he wore and wore and wore. In fact, he never took it off, because when he wore that, he thought of his friend the king. And he wore it, and he wore it, and he wore it, till it was all worn out. Oh, he was sad when he looked at that jacket. There wasn't a bit of it that actually was the same as the original. But he was a tailor, and he was a good tailor. And he cut the sleeves off. And he cut another big chunk off the bottom. And he made pockets. And he looked at it, and he did a waistcoat. Ah, look at this, he said. Lovely waistcoat. I'll wear it. And I'll think of my friend. He wore it, and he wore it, and he wore it, until it was all worn out. Oh, woe is me, he says. Look at the state of my wee waistcoat. But he was a tailor, and he was a good one. So he cut enough off to make himself a scarf. A grand scarf it was, wrapped twice round his neck, and he wore it, and he wore it, and he wore it, till it was all worn out. Ah, said he, look at my scarf. Oh, he said, this is getting to a point where I haven't seen my friend the king for so long, I don't know if he's alive or dead, I don't know anything about the kingdom. But there's enough material left in the scarf to make myself a nice bonnet. So he made a bonnet. A grand bonnet it was. Sat on his head. Really nice. Huh, look at this, he said. I've got a nice bonnet. And he wore it, and he wore it, and he wore it, till it was all worn out, and there was nothing left. Nothing left but one of the buttons that had been on the coat. That's all he had. Look at me, he said. A button is all I have left of my friendship with the king. And that's when he thought of the king. And that's when he felt the pain in his back and the pain in his legs. And he thought, I'm going away to see him, probably for the last time. And when he got to the kingdom, all the guards were out and they were saying, it's the tailor! Come on everybody, the king's friend. The queen looked down from the high quarters and she went, Tailor, come up, quick, come up. Up he came. Oh, it was very hard climbing those stairs. Climbing up those stairs. But he got up there and he sat down and the queen gave him the biggest hug. And she says, you know, all he's ever talked about is you. He doesn't go away as often as he does. And I actually thought he was going to go and see you one day, but you know, kings can't go wandering around about the country, it's not safe. I'm so happy to see you. And she called for her husband. He was down in the throne room, and he came up. And he went, "Oh, my friend." And he just about squeezed the life out of him when he gave him a hug. "This is wonderful," he said. "Thank you for coming to see me. How have you been? How was your coat?" "How was my coat?" he said. "Well, I'll no tell you, but I have something off it." And he took this wee button out that he'd covered with the last piece of material. And he says, "There you go. That's all that's left of it. And I've brought it back, give it to you." And the king looked at the button, for he had made a nice little box to put it in, and he thought, "I know the very place for it. Come on." And they went back down into the throne room. And he took his crown, it was sitting on a big velvet cushion, with a great big family diamond in the front. And he took a wee penknife out somewhere in his royal cloak, and he dug it out. He dug that big diamond out, priceless diamond, and he took the button and he pushed the button in. It fitted actually very well into the hole that the diamond had come from. And he says, "This crown and this kingdom will be known from now on as the kingdom of friendship." So, when you see a wee doll, you make your own wee doll, because I know you'll make it now. Think of friends, because there are no more important people in the world than your friends. No matter what the colour, no matter what the culture, no matter where in the world they're from, if they offer a hand of friendship, then they are friends.